So we will be recording this session for other students who can't participate, and then we'll have another session on Thursday as well in the event that you want to hop on that one, or just watch for any questions you might have. What I will ask is kind of the rules. I know that each of your professors probably has a different thing that they want you to do in Zoom classes. It would be helpful for me if you do have questions, just to use that little raise your hand button. If you click on participants at the bottom, and then there should be a little button that says raise hand. If you'll use that, if you have a question or comment, because I'm not really going to pay attention to the chat, because otherwise I'll get distracted and lose time. So I'm just going to kind of plunge into this, and then if you have questions as we go, raise your hand. There will be stops. I'll have like the presentation will be broken up into sections. So at the end of each section, it may be good to just kind of hold on your question, write it down, and see if it gets answered in the section. And if it doesn't, then when I ask for questions, that'll be a great opportunity for you to ask. So, but feel free to use the chat if you're chatting amongst yourselves or something like that, but I won't really be paying attention to it. So if you need to say something, raise your hand or just turn on your mic and interrupt me. On that note, let me pull up my little PowerPoint here, see if I can get to work. And I'm just going to kind of go through this. Where are you? Memento. Doesn't like me today. It's all right. There we go. Okay, so registration workshop, here we go. So this is the event agenda. We will review the program just so that everybody's on the same page. Some of you are newer than others, but just kind of going over the program, what your requirements are, things like that. Then we'll talk about briefly talk about registration details. It's a really simple process, or I believe it to be. I obviously have not engaged it personally because I have not been given access to actually go into WebStack. But from what I can tell, it seems fairly simplistic. But if not, feel free to correct me and help your fellow PMBA friends out if you've encountered glitches along the way. We'll talk about resources available to you in this registration process, and then also some random pieces that have to do with registration, but not necessarily, everyone's not necessarily engaging all of these pieces. With that, we will jump right into the review. And like I said, if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand or just turn on your mic and ask me a question. That works as well. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, as a caveat, as we go into this, I don't know if caveat's the right word, just know that the University Olin plans to move forward with classes. I know this is a big question in a lot of people's heads right now. Will the summer classes be virtual? And the answer to that is I don't know. At this point, we're moving forward as if classes will be on campus as regularly planned. You know, all your classes on if you go into WebStack and look at the course offerings, they have room numbers. Like there's no current plan to put them online. Now, obviously, as the weeks progress and as things are being forecasted, that could change, and that communication will come out when it's been decided. But for now, I think that there's an anticipation that we'll proceed as normal, and that hopefully we will be back to an ability to do some format face-to-face, whatever that looks like. So just be aware of that, but obviously things can change, and we're taking direction from leadership at Olin and WashU as a whole, as well as state and federal guidelines that are coming forth. So just be aware of that. Okay, so 54 credits are required to graduate for everybody. 27 of those credits are core classes, and then the other 27 are elective. So it's kind of a half and half. Here, these ones you have to take, these ones you can pick what you want. 9 credit maximum to transfer. You can transfer a total of 9 credits, but you can only transfer in 6 from within WashU. So School of Engineering has some classes we'll accept. University College has a lot of classes we'll accept. So if you choose to take some classes in those areas, you can transfer in a maximum of 6, whereas your total transfer amount allowed is 9. You can transfer in up to 9 beyond WashU, or some variation of the two. If you transfer in 3 from WashU and then 6 from outside, that works as well. Suggested path takes 3 years. That's a suggested path, but obviously people can individualize it and take more credits or less credits than the suggested plan. So you can get done sooner or later, but you have a total of 7 years to complete the PMBA plan. I don't know that anybody's actually done that, but people definitely take their time sometimes. What are the core? These are the core classes listed here. So just know that most of you are taking or have taken all of the same classes. There are some variations in the data class, the statistics class, and then the capstone, but generally they're the same. So this list and also the sheet before it are available in Microsoft Teams. I've created a little area where all of the files for registration are available to you for you to access whenever you need them. But this is just an overview of the core classes that you take. What are electives? Electives are any graduate level course within Olin Business School, with the exception to the EMBA classes. So you can take anything that's graduate level, anything that is 500 or 600, that is an Olin class can essentially be an elective. Now, does that mean that you'll get into all of those? No, some of them are specific to a population. Some of them fill up quickly and there's preference. But generally, if they're an Olin graduate class, you could take it as an elective. The exceptions are the EMBA courses. Those are very specific to cohorts and to the program. There were some exceptions to that this summer because of the travel trips and international stuff. But generally, EMBA classes are off limits. Any approved graduate level course from a transfer institution that is not equivalent to one of your core classes could also be considered for an elective. So got a lot of wiggle room for electives. What are my credit limits? Professional MBA students are allowed to take a maximum of 9 credits per semester without having to petition to do so. So students can take over 9, but we have you petition to do more than that, and there's 2 reasons for that. Because after a certain amount of credits, they start charging you the full-time rate, tuition rate, and since you're paying by credit hour, obviously that's problematic. It's to petition to make sure that you maintain the part-time tuition rate and don't get charged buku amounts of dollars. But then it's also to ensure that you're allowed to take more than 9, and mainly so that we can make sure that you're in a reasonable amount of credits and not exerting yourself. And sometimes, I mean, it's not uncommon for people to be in 10 and a half or even 12 credits and it'd still be a reasonable load because you've taken a couple weekenders or you took a week long that was 3 credits. That's not unreasonable, but we still need a petition for anything past 9 credits. And we'll talk about the petition process in a minute, but you do need to maintain at least a 1.5 credit amount each semester in order to maintain an active status for the program. Going inactive isn't a huge problem. It just means your academic record shuts or closes. And then in order for you to be reinstated, you'd have to fill out a form and not reapply necessarily, but you'd have to go through a process to get the record open. It's not like you can just come back into WebSec and add a class. So you'd have to be in at least 1.5 credits for that. And then all PMBA courses options are 1.5 or 3 credit formats. So just be aware that if you decide to take a class that's like 2 credits, that's fine, but those are not specific to PMBA generally, and that would just make your credit total more than the 54 credits. And since you're paying per credit, we would just want to make sure you're cognizant of the fact that you would end up paying for more credits than you actually need. So just be aware of that. And that is the end of the overview. Real quick, were there any questions about any of the overview at all? Anything that jumped out of you is going, wait, that's a thing? What does that mean? So like I said, if you do have questions, feel free to raise your hand and then I will unmute you, or you can unmute yourself and just ask a question. But if you have no questions about that, we will move on.